Well, good morning, church. This is Pastor Luke coming to you with our midweek devotional. Today is Maundy Thursday, and so I wanted to focus our devotional time on a particular passage. Now, on Maundy Thursday, a couple of different things happen. One we're very familiar with, which is the institution of the Lord's Supper. And this is where Jesus spends time with his disciples in the upper room celebrating the Passover meal. And he says, "This is my body and this is my blood." And he begins this sacrament of communion, which will carry on to this day. But Jesus does also something that's a little bit strange to us, and that is the washing of his disciples' feet. And this is from John chapter 13, verses 3 through 5. It goes like this. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Now, this sounds a little bit strange to us, but oftentimes we can explain things that happen in the Bible as like, well, that was just normal back then. Like, this is what rabbis did, was they washed their disciples' feet, right? Wrong. In this particular case, even for the disciples to wash the feet of their rabbi would have been basically unthinkable. This is like the equivalent today of washing cleaning the toilets or something like that, because people's feet were really, really dirty back then, right? They didn't walk around in Nike shoes. They, were in sandals, and this was a very dusty, desert-like atmosphere, and so this filth would build up on their feet. And I think a lot of times we hear this passage and we kind of romanticize it like we do with so many different things that happen in the Bible. We say, oh, what a wonderful thing. Like, isn't it great that we get to serve one another by washing each other's feet just like Jesus did? And washing one another's feet and serving each other sounds wonderful until it starts to impinge on our own freedom, right? And I don't know about you, but in the midst of this coronavirus thing, I don't like having my freedom impinged upon. I don't like being told what to do, right? Don't tread on me, okay? And especially with these home orders, I guess that's kind of a strong word for it, but that's basically what they are. We're spending a lot of time here with our families and with people maybe we wouldn't spend at least all day with, and you come to realize, maybe it's not healthy for us to be traversing the same 10 square feet at the same time. We bump into each other and we rub shoulders with each other, and we're getting our freedom impinged upon in so many ways. And this is very frustrating for us. And at that point, we kind of run up against the limits of what we're being called to here and our own capabilities, and recognize, man, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. Maybe this washing of the feet is not quite as beautiful and easy of a thing as we had thought. But what Jesus tells us is that when freedom and love come into contact, when my own personal freedom and love of my neighbor come into conflict, he says, what trumps that is love. Love comes out on top. Love wins the day over our own personal freedoms every single time. Listen to this. This is from 1 Peter 2, 16 through 17. It says, and he's addressing how Christians are supposed to respond to the governing authorities. He says, live as free people, right? We are free. In Christ we are free. But do not use your freedom as an excuse to do evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. And so what Jesus is telling us is that even when the requirement upon you necessitates that your freedom is impinged upon, that's exactly what love looks like. That's exactly what serving our neighbor looks like, is laying our own personal freedoms aside for the sake of the other. And as we're in the middle of Holy Week and we're thinking of Jesus as he's making his way toward the cross, and he sets aside his own personal freedoms, doing even the menial work of a slave. Even the worst slave wouldn't be allowed to wash the feet of their master. It would take someone who was the lowest of the low to do this kind of thing. And Jesus even was willing to debase himself to that extent, setting aside his own personal freedom to wash not just the feet of his disciples, but actually their sins away, washing them free and clean and forgiving them and taking them to the cross where he dies for us, setting aside his own personal freedom so that love may win the day. Love wins every single time. Love trumps, love comes out on top, and Jesus calls us to that same type of love. So blessings to you, dear friends, as you go forth and seek to wash one another's feet in this weird world that we live in right now. But just take comfort and take encouragement knowing that Jesus has already washed your feet too, and he already loves you perfectly, fully, and completely. Blessings on your day, and I look forward to worshiping with you before long.